Okay, you're on.
Okay. I went to Onondaga Valley Academy, which is a high school on the south side of Syracuse, down in what we call the Valley section. Mm-hmm. And I finished there at 18, and I had joined the Coast Guard Reserve. That was at a time, an era in the 50s. I graduated in 56, and during that era of the 50s, every male in the United States of America was expected to fulfill a military obligation. And so a lot of us enlisted in different reserve components while we were still in high school. So I enlisted in the Coast Guard Reserve in 1955 under a 6-year obligation that was 2 years as a drilling reservist, 2 years on active duty in the Coast Guard, and then 2 years of what they called standby reserve, where you'd get off of active duty, come home, and then 2 years later they would mail you your discharge. So I started 1 year in high school, and then when I graduated, I thought, well, I can't go to college or anything now because I have this 2 years of active duty hanging over my head. So my father was a construction contractor. So I went to work with him, and I had worked with him in high school part-time as an iron worker. Guys that go out and help to build bridges and tall buildings and so on. And I did that, and then a year after high school, then I went on active duty in the Coast Guard for 2 years. When I got out of the Coast Guard, I came back and I went to Syracuse University for about a year and a half, and I wasn't doing well. I wasn't really a very good high school student. In fact, you know why God invented broadcasting?
Why?
So that us C+ students could find work also.
Good.
So I thought, I'm not doing very well, and I was trying to study broadcasting in college, but like most colleges, you don't really get into your major till you're in your junior year. And I was bogged down in a lot of elective courses, and I didn't like it, so I thought before they throw me out of here, I think I'll get out on my own. So I left college and I went to a place in New York, which is now defunct, I think they're out of business, called the Academy of Broadcasting Arts. And that was a trade school. And I went there for almost a year. But all I did there was radio and television and production work and announcing and that sort of thing. And I loved that.
That's great.
And I was right in New York City, and they had taken over there was a radio station, I think they still exist in New York, WINS. And they had moved to new studios. So they took over a whole floor of where the studios for this radio station had been, right in Midtown Manhattan. And that was great. I loved it. I lived right in Manhattan, went to school there, was in a couple blocks walking distance from where I stayed. I stayed in an old hotel, which was just borderline at the time I stayed there. It's probably a real dump or flea bag now, but it was called the Holland Hotel, right on 42nd Street, just before I think 42nd Street got seedy. Now there's a lot of pornographic theaters and things like that there. At that time there wasn't. There were still legitimate movie theaters there on 42nd Street.
So right after that, you came right back
And then
here?
right after that I came back here, and I made an audition tape when I left that school, and I could have gotten a job in radio in Waterbury, Connecticut, or Iron Mountain, Michigan, way up northern Michigan. And that was tempting. You know, that's like the minor leagues in the boonies like that. But I had served 2 years in the Coast Guard aboard a Coast Guard icebreaker up in Lake Superior and Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. So I kind of knew that area. And I thought that might be fun to go back there. But then I thought, well, I'm going to look around right here. So I finally got a job part-time at WSOQ in North Syracuse. And that was what they call the middle-of-the-road station, or an easy listening station. They played a lot of Perry Como and Nat King Cole and the McGuire sisters and the Platters and things like that.
So it's not TV yet, it's
No, it was radio, AM radio. And I went to work for them part-time as a DJ, as a disc jockey. And they actually did, Cohen, you'll find this incredible, but we used to have these black things.
I know.
They were flat. They're flat. They're made out of vinyl, and they have grooves in them. And you put them on what's called a turntable, and it goes around, and there's an arm you bring over and lay it onto those grooves, and then you can hear the music incredibly.
Yeah.
Goes through a needle, transforms it, goes up through the arm and out these speakers.
Uh-huh.
So we had 4 big turntables, and we played a lot of 45s and long playing records, and that's what I did for about a year and a half. And then this place came on the air, and they ran an ad, a classified, asking people if they were looking for work. So I came out here and auditioned here, got a job here as a staff announcer and a weathercaster. No thought of ever being a monster or a vampire on the air. That just happened. I just fell into that from the story that I told you before. So that's how it all started. for
Was
me.
this new then? It wasn't established?
We
or-
weren't in this building then. We were in.
Right.
We
Well,
were in
I
the.
meant Channel 9.
Yeah.
It was that new?
We
You
were
came
brand
to-
new. First time we were the
Wow.
first totally ABC affiliate on the air. ABC had some programming that they ran with Channel 5 and Channel 3, who were Channel 3 and Channel 8 at the time. WTVH Channel 5 used to be WHEN Channel 8. And Channel 3 was WSYR, radio and TV. And then they had to diverse and split up, so they changed their call letters to STM. And that was because they were bought by the Sun-Times Mirror on the West Coast, the newspaper. And then we changed our call letters several years ago from WNYS to WIXT. Still we've always been Channel 9.
Right.
That was September of '62 when we went on the air, and I've been here ever since.
So it'll be 40 years for the channel.
Well, next year.
Next
We're coming
year.
up on 39
So are they
right
going to
now.
do anything, like a little highlight on the Baron? Little bit?
Maybe before I retire, I'll be 65 and I'll have 40 years here, so that works out nice.
Yeah.
I can get my Social Security and get my pension from here.
Big year.
So they might do something, I don't know.
You think
Yeah.
they're going to throw a big bash for you leaving too, or?
Oh, no.
A little
No, I don't think
gold
that,
watch
no.
or something.
If they do,
maybe?
I'll be surprised. Maybe a
Oh,
little gold watch.
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
my,
Here, let me take you a sign of
Look
these
at this,
too.
there's a duplicate of a couple of them here that I can. This here, but this is, we had this, what we call the rocket ship. And I was at the control of the rocket ship, and kids would come in, we'd have this peanut gallery, and we'd select 6 of them to take a ride in the rocket ship.
I wonder if
Uh,
that's like off the Flash Gordon idea.
Yes,
You
mhm,
did
yeah, it was.
Because of that.
And usually they were disappointed, because at home, when they'd see it on TV, we would flash these lights in the studio, and they would move the cameras like this.
Yeah.
So it looked like we were actually going
Yeah.
someplace or taking off.
Yeah.
And then when they'd get here, they'd sit in these chairs and wouldn't go anyplace. They'd just sit and think, is that all there is? Except I can tell you kind of a sad story one day. It happened on a Monday. That sometimes the kids, they get so excited by all of this, funny things would happen. Well, one Monday, let me go back to a Friday, and the guys were in a hurry to get out, and it was a weekend coming up. So after the show, when kids would get out, they'd pick up papers and clean up and so on. But the guys didn't do a very good job of that. They just took off out the door after the show ended. And then on Monday, when they came in, they brought the kids over, and these were like these what we called chip plastic seats that they sat in. You could stack them up, and they were plastic or fiberglass, and they were curved like this. And the floor manager brought somebody over, one of the cameramen, and he started to sit them down, and this one little girl sat down in her chair with this cute little dress on, and she went, "Ow!" Because somebody had gotten so excited on Friday before, they had wet their pants in the chair
So wet.
and got up and left it
Little
there.
puddle.
And our guys didn't clean up afterward, and here's a little puddle of stagnant pee-pee in this
Yeah.
chair. And this poor little girl sat in somebody else's 3-day-old pee-pee.
Oh, man.
Ah, let's talk about embarrassing.
Oh, it would be. That's-
I mean, for us, well, it had to be for her, too. It had to be devastating for her, because she cried. And,
Probably never the same. Probably
but then
got
that set,
therapy.
then that set changed, and we built this other set. Now this was the same. This part that you see here is the same. This was a dungeon that the kids supposedly sat in. Was my dungeon. But then right next to it, we had this thing called the time machine, and we would take the kids in there, and the same thing. We would flash lights and do things as if we were going back in time to join Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers. but nothing happened at all. So kids would go into this thing, and they'd stand in there for about 15 seconds, and we'd say, okay, that's it, come on out. Open the door, come on out, that's good. Here's a free bag of potato chips. Here's some bubble gum for you. Bubble gum.
Cute.
That's very hairy there, just like walking away.
Yeah.
This picture here, oh, this is a good shot of the dungeon with the kids on. We had logs that they sat on. And see, bazooka bubble gum, and it almost looks like my mouth is open there, but I'm blowing a bubble is what I'm doing. See, even the Baron can chew bazooka
That's
bubble.
probably when it was a penny.
I have good teeth for biting into something like that. All right, Cohen.
Okay.
I'll sign these for you if it's all right.
All right.
Cohen
sounds
talks
good.
funny too, doesn't
Yes, I talk funny too. And I'm actually getting proof that you're signing these right now.
Okay,
Okay, hey, thanks, Mike, for doing all that.
Yeah.
okay, here's a, you can have the envelope
Okay.
and
Okay, we'll put them all
the
back in.
cardboard and everything else.
You want to guys stand up together and I'll get your picture?
Here
Okay.
you can have a blood-filled